Bernie, your question about the media. I mean, I think it's changed an awful lot. You know, when I became a councillor in Leeds in 1987, half my life ago, the Yorkshire Evening Post, which publishes also here in Bradford, but not so much because of the Telegraph and Argus. Yorkshire Evening Post, owned by the previous owners were Yorkshire Conservative Newspapers Limited, had a circulation greater in the city of Leeds than every national newspaper put together. That circulation is now 10% of what it used to be. So 30 years on, it's 10%, it's 90% less. And that's for a whole number of reasons. Regional media has almost collapsed. We know that it's much more expensive to publish newspapers now, and we know also that the advertising revenue has effectively dried up for all but the national newspapers. So things are changing, and of course the greater democratic access to social media and to media such as this. I mean, the quality of both these cameras, and I am a bit of a camera buff, is so great now that it almost rivals the video cameras of 20 or 30 years ago. So things are changing for the better there, and media is becoming more democratically, more democratic. However, we mustn't forget that even the BBC takes its daily agenda from the Sun newspaper and the Daily Mail. So that the producers of the Today programme, and I got this from the horse's mouth at the time, John Humphreys told me this, they scan the headlines of the papers as they're published in the early hours of the morning, and then they take their main stories from that. And that still pertains, I'm afraid. So we know, I mean, if it was up to me, I would limit the ownership of the media in this country, as we've tried to do. I mean, we have had a major report on this, and none of it's been implemented effectively. But I would limit the ownership, as many countries in the world do, and ensure that our media could not be owned by people who are foreign nationals, because they have no interest in the future of this country. Why do you think the right-wing press, such as the Telegraph, the Express, the Mail, and the Sun, pursue a Brexit agenda? And it must have had an influence on people's voting habits. I don't know, people aren't stupid, I know that, but it must have had some influence, because it was so overwhelmingly anti-EU. And yet the owners of all those publications live abroad, are citizens of other countries, and have no interest in the future of the United Kingdom, except as a market for their profits and their bottom line. So, they do promote conflict globally. It's in their vested interest to do so, as you rightly point out, Bernie. We can make those changes, and we don't need international or EU agreement if we're still in the EU to make those changes. We can do them ourselves and actually level the playing field. The BBC is still, in spite of it taking its agenda from some of those awful publications, it still is something to be greatly proud of. And I know that it is very balanced in a lot of its reporting, because I get equal numbers of complaints from either side. If it's about India, Pakistan, I'll come to that in a minute. And then I get people complaining to me the BBC is too pro-India, and then I get people complaining it's too pro-Pakistan, so it must be doing something right. On Israel and Palestine, exactly the same. The BBC is radically and pervertedly anti-Israel. And then if you talk to people who support the Palestinian cause, the BBC is a Zionist organisation that supports the state of Israel without criticism. If people are complaining in equal numbers, they must be getting something right. Sam, thank you for your comment, your question about Russia.